page, A Guide to Economics. Here, this is Riparna. Hope all of you are doing good. We had already discussed in my last session how to present the data and why it is presented, and different types of presentation of data, and the brief discussion about the tabular representation, etc. So, today we are going to explain another some new concepts under this chapter, that is collection of data, and that's why this session is called as collection of data part 6. If you have missed my previous sessions, please go and check my description box and my first comment where the previous session link is already shared. So learner, let's begin the new session and go to my next slide where we can see what's the today's topic for discussion. So now let's move. The first one is the concept of parts of table. Second one is diagrammatic representation of data. And third one is different ways to present data diagrammatically. So, bar diagram and pie diagram we will discuss in this session. Clear? So, now let's move the main slide and start the new session. So, here we can see the parts of table. We all know that what is table. So, learner, what do you mean by a table? Table is basically a consist of a horizontal row and vertical columns. Okay, so it is the intersection of the row and columns from cells in which the numerical data are added. So, in a short form, table is a form of visual data basically. Okay, learner, why we are using the tables before going to the diagrammatic representations before going to the diagrammatic representations, because tables are used to organize data, and that is too detailed and complicated to be described adequately, and it helps to allow the reader to quickly see the appropriate results or the proper result. And last but not the least, it helps to highlight the trend and patterns in the data also. Clear? So I think which is clear what do you mean by a table, and that why we are using the table before going to the diagrammatic representations and etc. So now going to the next part, that is the parts of table, and where we can see in this slide. Okay, so parts of table. So the first one is the table number, second one is title, the third one is head note, fourth one is stub head, fifth one is stub entries, sixth one is caption, seventh one is body of the table, eighth one is footnote, and last but not the least, that is most important parts of the table, that is source of the data. So learner, let's discuss the parts of table briefly. So now move on the next slide. So here we can see the brief discussion on the parts of table. Okay, the first part of the table, that is the table number. So it must be numbered basically, because it helps to locate the table from their number. Clear? So each and every table should be numbered. Now going to the second one, that is the title. So table must have a title always, and it should be written in bold and capitals format at the top of the table, and it explains basically contents of the table. Clear? So now going to the third one, that is head note. Head note gives the information about the units of data. For example, we are measuring the population or the production of the commodity in the horizontal or the vertical axis. So where we can write production in bracket, production of a commodity in bracket in tons. So ton is the unit for the production of the commodity, and that includes in the head note. Clear? And obviously head note should be in brackets always. Clear? Now going to the fourth one, that is the stub head. Stub head gives the information about the title of the row of a table. That means it is a horizontal headings or the subheadings of the row. Clear? Now The fifth one, that is the stub entries. Stub entries indicates the information contained in the rows of a table. So what are the elements in the row? That it is called the stub entries. Clear? What is stub head and stub entries? What is the basic differences between stub head and stub entries? Stub head means the horizontal or the row headings, and stub entries the elements in the row. Clear? Now going to the next slide. The sixth part of the table, that is the caption. Okay, so caption is the title given to the columns of a table. So it is a vertical or the subheading of the column. Clear? So now going to the seventh one, that is the body. So body basically gives the values of the various items in the table. So it is basically a main part of the table which contains the numerical informations classified with respect to row and column captions. Clear? And the eighth one is the footnote. Footnotes are given as a supplementary informations and for clarification of the reader, and it appears immediately below the body of the table, and it helps to provide additional explanation which used in table already. And now going to the last part of the table, that is the source. When we are using the secondary data in the table, so obviously we can write secondary data, source of the secondary data uh, as the source point. Okay, so source nodes are given at the end of the table, and which indicates the information has been taken from. On the other hand, for using the primary data, we can write as primary data as source. That is the basic differences between the footnote and source. Footnote footnote basically helps to provide the additional information, additional explanation which are used in the table, and source nodes are given at the end of the table which indicates information has been taken from. Clear? So move on the next slide, and here we can see the format of table, and here table is presented in diagrammatically. Okay, so we can see the table number, the title, unit of measurements, column. So this is a row heading, this is a row elements, this is a column heading, and these are the column elements. So column elements basically are known as body. Clear? And this is the footnote and source part. I think it is clear what is the table and why we are using the table, and what is the format of table. Clear? So now go to the next slide. So here we can see the definition of the diagrammatic presentation. So learner, what do you mean by a diagrammatic presentation? So presentation of data in the form of lines, geometric figures, pictures, maps or curves is known as the diagrammatic presentation. So that means it refers to the organized data into table graphs format. Okay, so logical or statistical conclusion can be derived from the collected measurements, and obviously it helps to easy and better understanding for all. So that's why we are used the diagrammatic representations. Okay, so it helps to provide the first hand information also. It is very helpful in future analysis, it is very attractive, and when we are putting up the data in an attractive and useful manner such that it can be easily interpreted, and it helps to make comparisons, it helps to make the easy comparisons. Okay, so now move on the next slide. So here we can see the different ways to present the data. Okay, so let's go. The first one is the bar diagram, the second one is the pie diagram, third one is histogram, fourth one is frequency polygon, and last but not the least, that is the ogive. Okay, so today we will discuss the first two, that is bar diagram and pie diagram, in this session. Okay, so now move on the next slide. Here we can see the definition of the bar diagram. So learner, at first we have to know what do you mean by a bar diagram. So bar diagram basically is an one kind of diagrammatic representations, okay, and where bars or rectangles are drawn to indicate the differences in the different size of the variable being measured either over time or across different regions or groups. So, where a rectangular bar are drawn to indicate the measurements either over time or across different regions or groups. So, now going to the next slide where we can see the graphical representation of the bar diagram, and I think it will be very easy to understand. Okay, so now move on the next slide. So here this is the graphical representation of the bar diagram. So we can see we measure the number of people in the vertical axis and different kinds of fruits as a nicest fruit in the horizontal axis. So each rectangular bar indicates the different number of people according to the different kinds of fruit. I think it is clear which is bar diagram and what is its graphical representations. Okay, so now go to the next slide where we can see the another way to present the data, that is the pie diagram. Okay, so pie diagram is used for showing the share of different components of a particular series in the total with the help of a circle. Clear? Sorry. So this is basically a pie diagram. Pie diagram in diagrammatically. Okay, so now move on the next slide where we can see the diagrammatic representations of the pie diagram. So here you can see properly the different shades of yellow indicates the different percentage share of expenditure in different zone. Okay. So learner, we are done for the today's session. We have discussed today parts of table, bar and pie diagram. I hope it will be very helpful to you. I will come again with an exciting session for everyone. So till then, stay tuned and please do like, share, comment and subscribe to my channel, and please press the bell button for getting new notification from my side.